Formula One is about to do something it absolutely hates doing. It is about to go underground. For decades, we have been conditioned to view pre-season testing as a media circus. We expect live timing, we expect high-definition onboard cameras, and we expect endless forensic analysis of fuel loads and tire compounds. But this week, the sport is going dark. All 11 teams are currently descending on the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for what is officially being classified as a shakedown. But let us call this what it really is. This is the first proper, aggressive test of the most radical regulation change in the history of motorsport. And Formula One has decided that you are not allowed to see it. There will be no fans in the grandstands. No live television cameras, no official timing screens. It is a closed-door operation. The question is, why? The answer is fear. The 2026 cars are so complex, so fundamentally different, and potentially so fragile, that the teams are terrified of being embarrassed in public. They want the freedom to break their machines in private before they are forced to display them to the world in Bahrain. Today, we are going to breach that wall of secrecy. We are going to analyze exactly what is happening behind those closed doors in Barcelona. We are going to discuss the revolutionary and risky side pod design on the new Red Bull, the stunning reliability of the Ferrari power unit, and the mysterious absence of Williams. If you believe this is merely a warm-up exercise, you are mistaken. The 2026 season effectively begins right now. First, let's address the elephant in the room, the Red Bull RB22. As the car rolled out of the garage in Barcelona, the entire paddock stopped to stare at one specific area, the sidepods, or rather, the lack of them. Red Bull has done something incredibly bold. While other teams, like Mercedes and Ferrari, have opted for larger cooling inlets to manage the heat of the new 50/50 hybrid engines, Red Bull has gone. Red Bull has gone the opposite direction. Their sidepods are tiny. The inlets are razor-thin slits that look barely large enough to cool a road car, let alone a 1,000 horsepower phone machine. This is a massive gamble. The new 2026 power units generate immense heat from the larger battery and the 350 kilowatt electric motor. If you get the cooling wrong, the system overheats and the car stops. It is that simple. So why has Adrian Newey's design team taken this risk? Speed. It is all about aerodynamic efficiency. By shrinking the sidepods to the absolute minimum, Red Bull reduces drag. In a straight line, this car should be a rocket ship. They are betting that their innovative internal airflow management using channels inside the chassis to speed up the air will be enough to keep the engine cool without the need for big, draggy radiators. But there is a catch. We noticed something interesting on the top of the engine cover, a massive airbox intake. It seems Red Bull has moved a significant portion of their cooling capacity higher up the car, feeding radiators above the engine rather than beside it. This is a trade-off. It raises the center of gravity, which is bad for handling, but it clears the airflow along the floor, which is amazing for downforce. It is a classic Newey compromise. However, the risk is real. If the temperatures in Barcelona this week are low, which they are, the car might run fine. But what happens when we get to the sweltering heat of Bahrain or Saudi Arabia? If that cooling system is marginal, Max Verstappen could find himself managing temperatures instead of racing for wins. Now, let's look down the pit lane at Ferrari. While Red Bull is taking risks, Ferrari seems to have built a tank. The SF26 hit the track with Charles Leclerc at the wheel, and the word from our source's trackside is that it ran like a Swiss watch. In the morning session alone, Leclerc completed 64 laps. That is a full race distance, on day one, with a brand new engine formula. That is staggering. To put that in perspective, back in 2014, when the last hybrid era began, most teams struggled to do 10 laps without the car catching fire. This reliability speaks volumes about the preparation at Maranello. The new Ferrari power unit, the 6610, seems robust. And interestingly, in the wet conditions that plagued the afternoon, the Ferrari looked planted. GPS data suggests that in the low grip conditions, the Ferrari was significantly faster than the Red Bull. Why? It likely comes down to drivability. The 2026 engines have massive torque from the electric motor. If that torque delivery is aggressive or spiky, the car becomes a nightmare to drive in the rain. The fact that Leclerc could push so hard in the wet suggests that Ferrari has nailed the software mapping. The power delivery is smooth. The car is compliant. That is a huge confidence booster for the drivers. But not everyone is having a good week. We must talk about the empty garage at the end of the pit lane. Williams is not here. The team from Grove announced just days ago that they would miss the entire Barcelona test due to production delays with the FW48. This is a catastrophe. There is no other word for it. In a year where every single kilometre of data is worth its weight in gold, missing 3 full days of running is a competitive death sentence. While Ferrari is validating their cooling and Red Bull is testing their radical aero, Williams is back in the UK trying to glue carbon fibre together. It puts them on the back foot immediately. When they finally arrive in Bahrain, they will be weeks behind the development curve. For a team that has serious ambitions to move up the grid, this is a humiliating setback. It serves as a stark reminder of just how difficult these new regulations are to execute. Then there is Mercedes. The Silver Arrows were the first on track, and their car, the W17, looks solid. It looks safe. Mercedes has opted for much larger cooling inlets than Red Bull. They have prioritized reliability over ultimate aerodynamic aggression. George Russell completed nearly 150 laps on the first day. That is immense mileage, and his comments afterwards were telling. He said the car felt faster than the simulator. He praised the drivability of the engine. This suggests that Mercedes has learnt their lesson from the Zeropod disaster of 2022. They aren't trying to be too clever, they are trying to be consistent. If the Red Bull is fragile and the Mercedes is bulletproof, we could see a repeat of the early hybrid era where Mercedes wins simply by finishing every race. We also have to consider the active aero factor. This is the first time we have seen these systems working in the real world. The front and rear wings on the cars were seen opening and closing on the straights. It looks strange. It looks almost organic. But the big fear, active aero instability, hasn't manifested yet. There were no reports of cars spinning wildly because a wing failed to close. The systems seem to be working. This is a relief for the FIA, who were terrified of safety issues. However, the real test of these systems will come when the teams start pushing for lap time. Right now, they are just checking systems. When they turn the engines up to full power and attack the braking zones, that is when the stability of the active aero will truly be tested. So, what does all of this mean for the season ahead? It means we are looking at a divergence in philosophy. Red Bull has gone aggressive, prioritizing peak aerodynamic performance at the risk of cooling issues. Ferrari has gone for a balanced, drivable car that works in all conditions. Mercedes has gone for bulletproof reliability, and Williams has stumbled out of the gate. The 2026 season is going to be defined by who they do ride like the choice in these early stages. Is it better to have a fast car that you have to nurse home? Or a slightly slower car that you can thrash for 2 hours? We won't know the definitive answer until Red Bull will go to our commission out of Australia. But the clues are already there, hidden behind those doors. I want to know what you think. Is Red Bull's titles side as pod and does broken as strategy free made us free from made new or taking on bomb and does Ferrari's impressive for reliability make them your early favorite the title. The engine war has begun. The aero has begun. And even the side violence and the side violence of a the noise of competition is deafening. We will be monitoring it. We will every league on a controlling every from league the Buccaneers and Rome and from this week and a test this week. If you want the truth, if you want the trust truth behind and you are in us in the right statement place, you are in the right 2026 the year 2026. Let us see who survives the week to see who survives the week.